Hi everyone, and thanks for watching CS Academy worldwide educational platform for computer science O level, where the syllabus components are 0478 and 2210 IGCSE and GCSE. So now I am going to present you paper 2 problem solving skills and programming. Frequently asked questions. Many students have asked about that they are still unclear about the requirements of paper 2. So now I am just going to present you the requirements and the frequently asked questions regarding this paper 2. So now moving on to the next slide. But the first question which I've kept here, that is, what do you understand by the term meaningful names? This is a very hot question, and you will be able to deal this in a manner if you are a good programmer. So first of all, meaningful names means that if the language variable can hold long names, you should declare the full name. That is known as meaningful. But if you are already aware of programming concepts, you can shorten the variable name. For instance, as far as the grand total charity donation is concerned, it contains 25 characters. So keep in mind that the maximum length of a variable is 40 characters. So the variable name can be shortened as GTDC. If you have a good practice in shortening the names, you will go for it. Remember that put the remarks next to the name if you are using short variable names. So make sure that if you are using short variable names, you have to mention the lengthy name in a form of remarks. So now this is the very first question for containing in meaningful names. So now coming on to the next part, that is question number 2. Does CIE require that the variable names should be meaningful? Yes, of course. CIE does not restrict the use of lengthy names or shortened names. It is just for the learner who does not develop the concepts for shortening variables. If you are comfortable with lengthy name, that is meaningful name, but less than 40 characters, then use them as described. If you have developed good concepts in shortening variables, you can also do the same. Again, remember that put the remarks for shortening variables. And what is remark? Remark means when you put the remark next to the variable will not be compiled or interpreted by the language editor. Okay, so the next question is, can I declare a variable name starting with numbers? No, not at all. Variable name can be started with letters. It could be capital letters starting with A till Z, or starting with small a and small z, with numbers in between or in the last. Variable can also be declared with underbar, that is known as underbar or underscore, the sign you can see here, with numbers in between, same as the previous description. No hyphen, dashes, comma, and no special characters such as at, percent, ampersand, asterisk, parenthesis, equals to, plus, pipe sign, backslash, forward slash, question mark, less than operator, greater than, exclamation, square brackets, curly brackets, and the like, except dollar sign. The dollar sign basically represents the string. That means the variable is a kind of string, so you can use dollar sign while representing strings. You can see the example. For instance, subject dollar equals to within code the terms is written, that is computer science. So this is the dollar sign. When used, it represents that is a kind of string. So you have seen that this is the word, that these two words computer science it is enclosed within the double quote and is referencing the subject dollar next to equals to. So this is the question number 3. So now coming on to the next question, can I declare variable names with InitCap or the word first letter? I repeat the question, can I declare variable names with InitCap of the word first letter? That means if you are declaring the name, the name should the name be capital, or it should go in a running letters? So now yes, you can declare variable names with InitCap. InitCap means first letter of the joining word can be kept as capital. For instance, if the variable is grand total, so you can see the first letter of the grand is set to capital, and then the first letter of total is also set to capital. These names or this name will keep the first letter capital for each of the two words when joined. Remember that. Question number 5. Can I put spaces while declaring variables? No, not at all. You can join the word by using underbar or underscore sign. For example, grand underbar total, you can see yes, the space is seen over there, but it is not the physical space that you have put by pressing space bar key. So you can see, yeah, it is a joining word, and it is set to be the single word variable. So you can see the space in a form of underbar or underscore. Now coming on to question number 6. Do I have to mention data type while declaring variables? Yes, of course. You have to declare the variable with the data type you use with. For example, if the variable is a type of integer, you must declare with integer as integer price. If you declare variable of a string or character or float type, you have to declare the variable with the data type, string name, character, gender, and float percentage, and so on. So you can see the data type is written next to the variable name. So the variable names, definitely you will understand that integer price means the price is the variable name and is a type of integer. Then next is the character, right? And that you will see that if I just use name, so the character can be gender, that means you can hold just one character, M and F and so on, right? That means yes or no and something like that. And float percentage, that means if you are going to use the decimal point in between the numbers, so you will be using float. So in this way you have associated the correct data type with the correct type of variable. So this way you will be using and mention and declaring the data types with the variable. Question number 7. Do I have to care about case sensitivity? Case sensitivity means if the variable is declared in small letters or capital letters. While declaring variables, yes, you should care about declaring the variable names matched with the case you use, such as uppercase, lowercase, toggle case, sentence case, title case, mixed case with numbers, etc. You can see the example. Integer marks, you can see the integer, the marks is declared with a small m. Integer marks, which you can change and which is different than integer capital M, right? So that means these are two different addresses and so on. Similarly, float percentage is written in a running letter. On the other hand, you can see the difference that float percentage is written with a capital P and so on. And similarly, string name NAME is written in small letters and it is different than the string capital name and so on. So this means that these are two different variables if you declare with different letters sensitivity, that means case sensitivity, right? So keep in mind that whenever you declare variables, you need to care about this thing, that which variable you are using, at which variable you are referencing to hold information or running information while the program runs or while the program being manipulated. So this is what the students require to take care of. Question number 8. Can I declare array names with corresponding data types? Yes, you should reference the correct data type while declaring array as follows. Integer array name, this is the syntax, integer array name. Subscripted value means the total number of elements going to be stored. You can see integer registration, you can see I have used underbar over here, and then you can see I have used underbar over here, right? So this is why that you can see that, okay, integer registration, number over here you can see 100. That means I have used the predefined value, that is 100. Or for unknown unscripted values you can declare as integer registration number. You can see I have written the empty square brackets that represents that if the number of array elements is uncertain, that means you do not know the length of the array, so you can just keep this empty, right? Where the number of elements or values being stored in integer array. Same as with the string. Let's suppose you are declaring the card holder name and type is a string. Yeah, definitely you will be storing names. You are going to store 100 names, so you can use string card holder name 100. That means the subscript is 100. Subscript means the total length of the array. Now similarly you can see that string card holder name declare with empty array. Empty array does not mean that there is no array. That means you do not know the number of values which will be input into the array, right? So that means the card holder name empty bracket shows the uncertain number of elements, values being stored in string array. So this is what the corresponding data types, and you are referencing with the empty set of, or you can say the empty set of the array brackets that represents that this is a kind of array. And if the value is written with that, that is known as the total number of scripts. Total number of subscripts is whatever value you give, that is in the current on the current screen. You can see the length of the array, card holder array. It is written in two ways. The first way is 100 and the second way is without any values. That means it can have unlimited number of array elements. Question number 9. How do I declare data type with array? Yes, this is important question, that there are different methods and different ways in which array can be declared. So if you are going to declare integer array, so you will have to just revise your concepts before you declare. First of all, the data type need to be mentioned. That means integer, the type of data is integer, and the variable name, the array name is marks, right? See that I have used small m for declaring marks, and the type is integer with empty square brackets. That means you can left the array bracket empty or write the non-subscripted value. That means if you know the number of elements, sometimes the cases are different. Sometimes you know the exact value and sometimes you do not know. Let's you are just going to make a generic program. That means you do not know the certain number of entries or inputs. So in that case you will let the variable array variable empty and will let the values fill by the total number of repetitions the program has. Then integer marks 100. Similarly, I have already explained this thing. This will hold 100 values at different locations, also known as subscripted value. Then integer marks, you can see another method, that is integer is 2. That means this is not the ratio sign. This is 2. That means integer from 1 to 100, or integer marks 1 to 100. I have put the TO2 word over here in between 1 to 100. Integer marks with parenthesis, that means this is also representation of an array, or integer marks 100. So this way you can see that these are all the types of declaration of array. So similarly you can see that float marks 1 to 100, string name 1 to 100, or string name 1 to 100, or string name 100. If you are going to store 26 characters of alphabets, it's a type of character, the data type is character. Letters, you are going to store letters 1 to 26, or CHAR is also type of data type that also holds single value. But here you are declaring the letters to hold total 26 values, or character letters 26 in a parenthesis form. That means the bracket shows you the total number of subscripts being stored in this letters, and the data type is character. Question number 10. What is meant by the word store in pre-release? Yeah, it's a very tricky question. Basically, store means people take this thing that it just makes them to think that the variable, the constant of the variable means storage. No, this is not the storage. Basically, as a regular programming practice, store means to reference an array. That means you are going to deal everything and store into memory. So if you are dealing in memory, that means you are going to store data in an array. So you have to use arrays in your program. So this means that, yeah, store means in pre-release, that means you have to reference arrays. Question number 11. Do I have to use validation checks while writing pseudocodes or programming statements? Yes, of course. If required, you have to use suitable validation checks for controlling the program flow and consistency for rejecting, accepting, and checking irrelevant data being input. You must be well aware of using validation checks, as you know that if the data test types testing basically done on 3 types, that is normal, abnormal, and extreme or something boundary data. So now this is what is required while you are inputting or you're taking input from the user, and then you have to just be vigilant and quick, and you have to make your prompt quick that it should select and filter the values according to the validation checks applied. And what you think is there, that means it has the functionality that checks the consistency, means the program should not go off. That means if there is anything going wrong, program should handle it, and there should be some exceptions which is controlled by using validation checks. So yes, again, you are required to put validation checks while you are writing pseudocode or programming statements. Question number 12. What is meant by task 1? Yes, it's a very you can say confusing question. Yes, task 1 means you are required to declare all the variables with their data types and an array if included. With proper validation checks, it also includes loops with counters and conditions as well. That means if as far as the pre-release is concerned, basically the first task requires all these initializations and something controlling and something validations. So this all is done in task 1 mostly. So in connection with task 1, task 2, and task 3, so you will have to keep on manipulating with these controls with task 1, task 2, and task 3. So yes, so you have to just be prepared for declaring, understanding data types, and declaring arrays and validation checks with loops, counters, and conditions as well. Question number 13. What is meant by task 2? Yes, this is another confusing question. Task 2 means that you have to calculate the sum, or you have to calculate and sum of the contents based on task 1. That means if you have declared something, you have collected some information, so that has to be the part of task 2, and further validate and compare and test the input values done in task 1. That means yes, what is required, that means if the value goes wrong and you have to compare with the value you have stored there, if yes, it is required, you have to input all these procedures which relate to task 2. So task 2 does this exercise, that it has to calculate and sum up the contents, and it has to further validate and compare and test the input values done in task 1. Question number 14. What is meant by task 3? Again, task 3 is very simple. Sometimes this can be the expansion of task 2. Validations apply, right? Show the running totals. It shows the running totals, hash totals, averages, etc., and show running output or terminated output in an order ascending or descending required by the question. So basically this has the functionality and the connectivity, or these all 3 tasks are interconnected. That means if you write a comprehensive program, so you will not consider that it is task 1, it is task 2, or it is task 3. You will start writing the code, writing the program with keeping in mind that all these validations, controls, totaling, counting, looping, validating, termination, and display, stopping, input and output entries and something like that. This will be the part of the same program, but it has been divided into 3 tasks that you must know that what is the declaration part, what is the calculation part, and what is the output part. So if you divide this program into 3 tasks, so you will have these 3 tasks, 1, 2 and 3. In these 3 tasks the program becomes easier, and simple is that divide the whole task into different segments, and then you will be able to solve that easily. So this is what is meant by all these 3 tasks: task 1, task 2 and task 3. Last question: how many sections paper 2 is divided into? Yes, simply you can see that it is just this is a very common question students mostly ask, that what comes under paper 2, what is this, what is that, and this and that, and so so you keep on answering them, and you can see that yes, this is what the contents included in paper 2. There are 7 sections, namely as follows. The first one is arrays, validation checks, flowchart, program flow, trace tables, dry run and test data, programming statement, pseudocode algorithm with explanation to some questions which are required by CIE, or which have the some questions have the nature that they have to be explained, and then the student will secure marks. Now control structures which includes sequence, that is statements, selection, those are conditions, and then repetitions, loops, and counters. There are separate counters and internal counters, that means inner counter and outer counters, and they have the connection with all these control structures. Then you have a correction of errors, value comparison as high, low, max, minimum, and something like that. And then you have databases. Just this is very important topic. Databases includes queries, databases includes databases itself, then queries, then how it is divided into queries, query by example and grid, data types, relationships, primary keys and secondary key concepts, and then rows and columns and something like that. This is the whole paper. These are the contents for the whole paper 2, which every student must remember and must go through thoroughly, and they have to keep on focusing on these elements, and then definitely they will get through in their exams, and I am hopeful that they will get good success in their marks. They will get flying colors, and I hope that this frequently asked questions session will help you out and will take you out from the problems and from the vacuum where you are still unconfirmed and you can say unconfirmed and still not able to understand what the paper 2 is. So I hope you will like this. Thanks for watching.